Thanks for joining us on the 23rd of November 2016. So today we're going to be unpacking President-elect Donald Trump's pretty much his first message, I guess his first message to the people, talking about his what's happening with the transition, outlaying his plans for the first 100 days in office. Presidents, they always, and all politicians and prime ministers seem to be like fascinated with this, the 100 days in office. There's always this 100-day plan. So President-elect Trump is laying out his 100. I guess he's laying out his 100-day plan here. So let's go through and unpack Trump's message here.
Today, I would like to provide the American people with an update on the White House transition and our policy plans for the first 100 days.
Yes, the 100 days. Very important is that 100 days. Anyway, keep it rolling, Donald.
Our transition team is working very smoothly, efficiently, and effectively. Truly great and talented men and women, patriots indeed, are being brought in, and many will soon be a part of our government, helping.
You gotta kind of love this guy's positivity. He is like, everything is going great. The team is just doing so wonderful, and he's really putting super positive kind of a spin on the whole process. And in a way, I think that's kind of a strength, but I also think it's maybe a little bit of overconfidence or arrogance coming through there. But yeah, anyway, let's keep it going.
Us to make America great again. My agenda will be based on a simple core principle: putting America first. Whether it's producing steel, building cars, or curing disease, I want the next generation of production and innovation to happen right here on our great homeland, America.
This was probably like one of the central components of the Trump campaign was America first, making America great. Americanism, not globalism. Globalism, as you know, is where all our manufacturing is pretty much shipped over to places like China and India, where the labor costs are much lower. So our factories are shutting down, and they're building hundreds of factories a week over in China. Because the labor costs, but we get cheap big screen TVs, but we don't make them here anymore. So that's the trade-off. We get the cheap big screen TV, but we don't have the jobs in our country anymore. The jobs have all been shipped over to China. So Donald Trump is kind of like your protectionist kind of president. He wants to bring the manufacturing back home to America. So, I mean, this is not going to be an easy task by any chance at all, by any means at all.
Creating wealth and jobs for American workers. As part of this plan, I've asked my transition team to develop a list of executive actions we can take on day one to restore our laws and bring back our jobs.
So it's strange. He's just got straight into the executive order actions. He's called it executive actions, but this is essentially executive orders that he can basically sign to. So no laws that need to go through Congress or the Senate or nothing like that. He just wants these executive orders that basically he can say, right, this is what's going to happen. Bang, let's make it happen. So a little bit kind of dictatorial, but all presidents in the past have used or abused executive orders, and Donald Trump, it seems to be the first thing he wants to do is just start firing off those executive orders like he's the president of a corporation. He's basically the dictator, and what he says goes. So I think this will be a major problem going forward in the Donald Trump presidency, where he just won't I think he's used to getting everything his way, him being the boss. But when you're president, well, you can use the executive orders, but they only go so far. You can veto bills that come across your desk, and you get the right to appoint Supreme Court judges. But I think Donald Trump's going to be extremely frustrated with the whole presidency process, because he's not going to be able to run it as a dictator. He has to be the president. So, yes, okay, that's going to be interesting going forward, how they're starting off with using executive orders. So, and he's probably going to undo a lot of Obama's executive orders as well. So, yeah, so we're already, the tone of the presidency has very much been set. It's all about executive orders. It's about Donald Trump being the boss and pretty much wanting to run the government his way, which is going to run into a lot of roadblocks by the Congress and the Senate going forward.
About time. These include the following. On trade, I am going to issue our notification of intent to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a potential disaster for our country.
This is one of those things that Donald Trump can do by executive order. I think this is fully within his rights to do so. And the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the TPP, has been blasted. Hillary first supported it, and then I think that Bernie came against it, and I think that then Hillary swung against it. So Trump has been against the TPP from the get-go. So this comes as no surprise that he wants to withdraw America from the TPP. What consequences this has for the rest of the world, I really don't know. It's a huge, complex trans-Pacific trade partnership that most of it was negotiated in secret. Most of it is secret. Most of it was negotiated by the massive corporations colluding with government. And yes, it was done for their benefit, not really done for the public's benefit. So it's it was no surprise that Donald Trump has come out hard against the TPP, as he's been hard against the TPP since the get-go.
Instead, we will negotiate fair bilateral trade deals that bring jobs and industry back onto American shores. On energy, I will cancel job-killing restrictions on the production of American energy, including shale energy and clean coal, creating many millions of high-paying jobs. That's what we want. That's what we've been waiting for.
Okay, that's actually a huge announcement there. So he's probably going after the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, who has put a lot of restrictions onto power plants, put a lot of restrictions onto coal power plants, the clean coal technology, which I think is a bit of a. I'm not really all for the clean coal. I'm a huge renewable energy advocate. I love renewable energy. So what he's saying here is the Obama administration, in their kind of war on coal, has come against all these clean energy, clean coal sort of power plants. They've shut a lot of these power plants down. So now Trump wants to kind of wind that back a little bit, get some more jobs back into possibly the dirty energy sector. So yeah, so I expect a lot of drama there with all the environmentalists, because I think he's going to try and undo a lot of what Obama has done.
On regulation, I will formulate a rule which says that for every one new regulation, 2 old regulations must be eliminated. So
I think that's actually a really smart idea. It kind of takes us back to the Kerry Packer. If those are people in the audience know about a Australian mega billionaire, Kerry Packer. He was fronting the Senate, a Senate committee for something. I'm not sure what it was now. But Kerry blasted these senators who were up there on their little desk. He says, "Hey, each time you I don't know what he called them. Each time you guys make a rule, why don't you get rid of an old rule?" So Donald Trump is saying, "Hey, you want to bring in a new regulation? Get rid of 2 regulations. Put 2 off the book. You want to put 1 on the book? Get rid of 2 on the books." But I think it's actually a pretty good idea.
Important. On national security, I will ask the Department of Defense and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to develop a comprehensive plan to protect America's vital infrastructure from cyber attacks and all other form of attacks. On immigration, I will direct the Department of Labor to investigate all abuses of visa programs that undercut the American worker.
Wow. Okay, this one here is, I feel like Donald's walking into a whole into a field just full of mines. So if he's saying they're going to start mass deportations of illegal citizens, I think this is where Donald is heading here. So he's going to come up against the sanctuary cities, mayors of sanctuary cities who have possibly hundreds of thousands of illegal illegal immigrants or whatever you want. Whatever the term is for them these days. So here again, Donald is really going to come up against a massive wall of protest, a massive wall of resistance, if he starts to really roll out mass deportations. And my bet is he's going to really soften up on this position a little bit. Start with the maybe he's saying start with the criminals. And then because so get the if people are in the country illegally, they've committed serious crimes, bang, they're gone. I don't know why they're not gone in the first place. Okay, but this is going to be a tough issue for Obama. He's going to be up against the wall here.
On ethics reform, as part of our plan to drain the swamp, we will impose a 5-year ban on executive officials becoming lobbyists after they leave the administration.
Isn't that actually a pretty good idea? So I think that's great. I think that lobbying is it's a huge industry, but it's also a bit of a big problem in America when you're mixing money and politics and influence, and the lobbyists are trying to buy influence from our politicians. So this is actually a really good idea of Trump's. So if you're a member of the administration, there's a 5-year cooling off period before you can actually go and work for a lobbyist group. So what they call that, like that revolving door, where they come into the administration, work in the administration, then go out and get a nice cushy, big six figure job, working for lobbyist organizations. So and using their connections inside government. I think this is a fantastic idea.
And a lifetime ban on executive officials lobbying on behalf of a foreign government. These are just.
Well, that's a pretty obvious thing. Now, there's one point here that he's actually skipped out on is the term limits for congressmen and senators. This was actually a fairly big policy. This was one of his policies that he was kind of kicking around during the election campaign. But maybe he's winding this one back a little bit because he wants to impose. I think it was like 5 years or 9. I forget what it was. It was 2 terms, I think. 2-term limits on all congressmen and all senators, just as the presidency is term limited to 2 terms. And I think it's an incredible idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. But he doesn't seem to be talking about that now. So maybe that's one of those things he's actually going to be just sort of winding back a little bit, which is, I think, will be a bit of a pity. But when you think about it, is he going to get it through the House or the Senate? Which politician is going to vote for their shortening their own time when they've got their beaks into the public trough? I mean, I don't think any congressmen or senators would actually support this. So it's probably one of those fantastic ideas but he would most probably need the support of the House and the Senate to actually pass this into legislation. It's not one of these things you can issue by executive decree. So, yeah, good idea, but I think it's looks like it's dead in the water already.
Just a few of the steps we will take to reform Washington and rebuild our middle class. I will provide more updates in the coming days as we work together to make America great again for everyone, and I mean everyone.
So he's brought out the Make America Great Again, and he's talking about everyone. So he's trying to be inclusive here. We've got the media campaign, really working hard against Trump at the moment, saying that he's going to be going after, believe it or not, women and minorities. If you're a minority in America, bang, you're in you're in the crosshairs. So that's why he's saying, and I mean everyone. He's trying to reiterate that point there, that the media narrative is false. So yeah, I think if you're a criminal, illegal immigrant in America, it's time to start packing your bags and heck it off to back wherever you came from, because I think you're going to be high on the list. So yeah, so there we have Trump's first addressing the people, looking and sounding quite presidential. So outlaying the plan for the first that first 100 days in office, and so I think that. As like I said, he's going to find it very difficult to work within the system, because Donald's always had his way. Whatever he says, bang, he's the dictator. So I think he's going to. You can only rule by executive order so much. You then have to, massage, get legislation through the House, through the Senate, lands on your desk, sign it, bang. So I think he's going to push the envelope of what can be done by executive order, probably 5 or 10 times more than, say, pardon me, by President Obama. So yeah, I think he's going to have a difficult presidency. Well, in a way, it is a pregnancy. We're going to see what is born here. But I think, yeah, definitely going to have a difficult presidency. Not getting his way all the time, having to work with the system. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I think Donald he seems like a guy that's not afraid to make big decisions. Not afraid to make really big decisions. And that, in a way, I think that's a bit of a strength, can also be a bit of a worry. I'm not sure whether he thinks those big decisions through totally, or whether it just seems like a really good idea right now and bang, let's do it, and worry about the consequences later. So, yeah, so not a bad speech by Donald outlaying the 100 days. So, yeah, so we will see. The inauguration is, January 18. So we will see what happens to the team after they're in the White House. But I think we're in for a heck of a ride. Yeah, so thanks for watching the show today as we unpacked President-elect Trump's message to the people. So yeah, if you could tap that like button down the bottom there, or hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the channel, I will give you like a virtual hug. Okay, and if you want to drop a comment down below, give me some tips about what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong, I'd appreciate that very much. Okay, so it's Ferry Bob out.